Welcome to my show. I'm a guest here. Her name is Deborah Anderson. Mrs. Deborah, how are you doing, ma?
Doing well. Doing very well. Thank you.
All right, ma. Firstly, you are a writer. You are a coach. You are also a speaker and the podcast host of Social Cafe. Can you please, ma, discuss more about yourself and how you're doing currently now, ma?
Yes, I also do a couple other things. I Have you heard the saying, what is it? Let's see if I can get this right. Jack of all trades, master of none. I try to be not that second part, master of none, but I do tend to do quite a few things and I try to do them well. But I'm also a singer, and the podcast that I'm putting a lot of time into these days is the one that relates to yours is Diabetic Real, and focusing on health issues. And even though it has the term diabetic in it, I do believe in trying to use what I've learned as a diabetic to help other people who are not diabetic. Because I realized, the whole population of the earth is not diabetic. But I think there's a lot of things that I've learned in learning about myself as far as health that to pass on to people to learn how to listen to their bodies and learn about health. So that's kind of where these days. Oh, the other thing too is didn't mention this as a singer. So those two things keep me busy between singing and focusing on health.
That's lovely. Thank you so much, Mrs. Deborah. And have you tried to plan to write a book or have you written one, Mrs. Deborah?
Yeah, I'm actually working on one. There's another podcast that my husband and I are doing, and it's called Black Beauty Jag. That's a brand new podcast. We only have, I think, 7 episodes out on that one. And we're actually writing a book. It was kind of inspired by Black Beauty, the horse, back in I'm trying to remember when that book was written. Was it in the 1800s? I'm sorry if I'm getting my information incorrect on that one, but
Okay.
the idea is to write a book from the car's perspective because the Jaguar is, they're going electric. I don't want to spend the whole time talking about cars, and I don't know about cars, so I'm not even pretending to be an expert in cars. I'm not. That's my husband. But the idea is that they're no longer having gas-powered cars going into the whole electric thing. So we're writing from the car's perspective as far as being the last of its kind gas-powered. So it's a Black Beauty Jag, and being this car taking in the US, we have the Route 66, this little travel, across the country. So the car is taking this travel across the country, and from the car's perspective, what it's like to meet different people and travel from state to state, and all this kind of thing. That's one book. And another book I'm writing is about a singer and my own kind of semi-autobiographical. And another book as far as health. I told you I like to do a lot of different things. Another one is as a
Hmm.
diabetic and health. So a couple of those are going to be a little bit autobiographical, but they're still fiction. And then the diabetic one, I'm hoping to be more of a coaching and health tips and so forth. So
We hope we are expecting it, Mrs. Deborah. Thank you so much, ma. And I would like to go to the point of our bodies, ma. Listening to one body could be beneficial and it might not be. And in my own view, I just personally believe listening to oneself depend on the type of suggestion that body is trying to bring to the table. So I would like to ask Mrs. Deborah, what do you think it means to listen to our body? And why do you personally think it is important, ma?
I love how you put that as far as what your body's bringing to the table. That's a great way to illustrate that. The I think it's really important. And I was thinking about this before we met today because so much of what I'm saying relates to specifically me being diabetic. and also just in the last year or two, I've been diagnosed as epileptic. So it's an
Mm,
interesting juggle between the two. And I never wanted to admit this to anyone. You go into a job, you don't want to say, "Hi there, I'm diabetic," because you can be
mm,
discriminated against. So I was always hush hush about that. I didn't want anyone to know I was diabetic. Well, now I started to have seizures at work. You can't really hide that. If you're unconscious on the floor, it's pretty evident to everybody around you. So it was pretty obvious. And now that I've been doing more things as far as advocacy, I'm letting people know, not because I want them to know. I still don't want people to know that I'm diabetic and epileptic. But in order to help people, I have to actually acknowledge that. So now I'm kind of taking the opposite view because that's how I can help people. So anyway, that's a roundabout way I'm as far as getting to your question, as far as listening to our bodies. But the I think you're asking about the importance and knowing like when to listen to our bodies.
yeah.
I found out how important it was to listen to our bodies because I wasn't listening to my body. I thought, you're raised to listen to the doctor. The doctor knows best. The doctor has gone to school. They have all this education. They know what's best, so do what the doctor says. And you don't know anything because you're young or, whatever. You don't know what's best. But I was finding out that when I stopped and actually listened to my body, things went well. I
Mm,
did okay when I listened to my body, but when I listened to the doctor, and this isn't me bashing on doctors. I'm not trying to say that doctors are wrong,
mm,
but the way I put it with people is my body hasn't read the medical books. My body, as with everybody's bodies, our bodies didn't go to school to become doctors. Our bodies didn't get the doctor degrees. Our bodies are just doing what our bodies are doing. And the schooling, as far as doctors going to school, that schooling is studying bodies. So, what's kind of the hub of all this? The hub is our bodies. The hub isn't the schooling. And I think, bless their hearts, I'm not against doctors, but I think sometimes doctors forget that. They forget that the body is that center,
mm.
not the education. The education is the study of the body, not the other way around. So when I started to actually listen to my body, I started to realize that my body knew what it was talking about, that that is really the hub of what's going on. I think I might have lost your lost your question trying to answer your question. I might have gone off topic. So let me turn it back to you because I could babble all day. I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. All right, ma'am. No problem. It says, Deborah. It's nice. Thank you. There will also be daily practices which you might have done or ways one can connect with this body to listen to it. So, what do you think are some simple daily practices that can help us to tune into the point in listening to our bodies, ma'am?
I think really stopping, and I want to say concentrating, but if you concentrate, you can concentrate too hard and then you're not listening to your body. So it's really a matter of it's kind of concentration for lack of any other word. I'm going to use the word concentrate, but it's concentrating on purging the distractions. So for example, for me I can reference the epilepsy because it's a more immediate need. Well, okay, diabetes is too. If you're low blood sugar, you've got to consume sugar to stop an episode. But for example, and this is a personal story that happened actually just a few months ago. My goal with epilepsy is not to have a seizure. And thankfully, I have some medicine that helps with that and, different techniques. But I had a situation a few months ago where I could feel that a seizure was coming on. And the way I explain it to people is for me, if you were going to say, like, for instance, I feel a seizure coming on, and the thought is, uh-oh, because you're about to have a seizure, uh-oh. But what happens is I say, and then by the time I get to oh, I'm already unconscious. So I don't get to the oh, it's like, and then I'm unconscious on the floor or whatever, wherever I've fallen. Well, in this particular situation, I was feeling the and I'm like, I don't want the seizure to happen. So all I could think of is purge everything from my mind immediately. And it sounds crazy, but I just laid down on the floor right where I was at. And I pictured myself like I was at a spa. I know that sounds really crazy, but and like I was just completely relaxed, not thinking about anything, no stress, no work, nothing, and just completely relaxing. And I was picturing like really relaxing music and for me, my particular seizures, it's like my brain, it's like you picture RPMs like things going around in your head too fast, too many it's like if you picture a computer, spinning wheel on a computer, there's just too many processes going on at the same time. And so what I was doing with my brain was making all of that stop. I was just getting my brain to stop processing things. I was just getting my brain to just relax. And as I did, that was just enough for me that as I got everything to stop in my brain and relax, that was all I needed. And I was able to get up off the floor and then just go lay down and just rest. And the seizure didn't come. And that's probably the first time that I was able to ward off a seizure without having to do anything medically. And I thought, wow, that really does work to just work with your body to completely, absolutely relax. And I did that by listening to the body was saying, hey, too much going on here. I'm crashing too much. You just need to relax. And I had to, like I said, lack of any other word, concentrate on purging everything else and just listening to the body say, I need to relax immediately.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Deborah. And people might often mistakenly misinterpret what their body says and also give what their body says into a conclusion without even giving, thinking or giving the consideration. How do you think someone can avoid misinterpreting body sensation and jumping into conclusion, Mrs. Deborah?
I think a helpful exercise would be to log things
Okay.
so that you could what I use, and I'm not an affiliate or anything like that. I just it's just a tool that I use, but I use myfitnesspal.com. It's actually a food diary, but I use their little comment section, but someone could use like a calendar program, maybe a Google Calendar or something like that, or just even a paper calendar, but just some method, whatever works really well. Trello is another tool. I'm just trying to think of different like online tools, but whatever works for you, for your personality, whatever works. Some people think vertically, some people think horizontally,
Mm.
whatever is the best method, but logging things has really been helpful for me. So you know what works for your body, what reaction, and then don't be afraid to actually listen to your body and how you interpret something. So, like on one particular day, you felt like you were getting this particular response from your body. So you did this, log that. Like, for instance, on MyFitnessPal, again, even though it's a diary, I put a lot of stuff in the comments section at the bottom. And it's handy because then I can go back to that date and see what happened on that date. It's also handy because it is a food diary. For me as a diabetic, I'd say, oh, I ate this on this date. And then sometimes you look at it and go, oh, I had a corn dog. I must have been at this event. So it kind of jogs your memory as far as what you're doing. Excuse me. But then you can kind of get a picture of what was going on with your body that particular day or that particular week. And you can figure out what worked for your body that day or what didn't work. And you know whether or not to repeat it and do the same thing. It's kind of like making yourself a lab rat. That's not a very that's not a very pleasant thought, but in essence, that's what I started to do for myself. And I actually gave the information that I was able to log about myself to my doctor. And fortunately, I had a very nice doctor that was willing to work with me as a team member rather than having the type of doctor that said, I don't care what you say and you're gonna do what I tell you to do. So it was a very beneficial team process. And I think that's how people need to look at it is that nothing's perfect in life, but be able to treat your body as your body is communicating with you as far as the information. You just need to decipher it. So if you can log it, you can start to see the patterns and what your body is trying to tell you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Katie. I'm sorry, Mrs. Deborah. And Lastly, Mrs. Deborah, there will also be lessons you have personally learned when it comes to um this, listening to one body, communicating, and also, not trying is our best to misinterpret this. What do you think is the most surprising lesson you learned about the body mind connection in your coaching work, ma?
I think I'm still learning about this, but it's surprising yet it's not surprising. For me personally, it's it's the mind is a wondrous thing, and I'm still trying to decipher some of the stuff I've learned even in the last year as far as how medicines affect the mind.
Mm,
I mean, it shouldn't be surprising when you think of all the different drugs that people have gotten into
mm,
and the hypnotic drugs and all of these things. So it shouldn't be surprising what the mind can do with different drugs, but even the prescriptions. I had a doctor prescribe something that I almost had a seizure, and then I found out after he's talking about like, oh, I don't even know what it's called. I'd have to Google it, but it goes across the brain barrier or something. And when I heard the doctor say that, I thought, well, obviously, if it's cutting across that barrier, for me personally as an epileptic, it's likely going to cause it's going to cause an epileptic seizure for me and probably cause that problem for others who have epilepsy. Now, the doctor didn't warn me. He's not a neurologist. He's, completely other type of specialty, but it got me thinking, shouldn't he have a warning for anyone that
mhm.
comes to see him who has epilepsy? He shouldn't be prescribing this medicine that's going to cause that little flip the switch in the brain because his patient, if they have epilepsy or any kind of tendency towards seizures, they're going to have a seizure. And it's like, wow, there's a lot of information out there that people don't know, or they're not being told, and that doctors may not know. I was kind of looking at him going, he's a great guy, he's a very nice guy, very educated, but he's educated in one small little field and there's so much other information out there that people are not being told and not being educated. And it seems like it's just this little tiny piece of information about that barrier in the brain. And I think people should know that if you're taking a medicine that crosses across that, you could end up on the floor with a seizure, breaking your leg, which is what I ended up having in another situation. And I think people should be informed of that so that they don't have an adverse reaction. So, yeah, I was surprised that that information is not out there and yet not surprised. So that really inspired me to get out there and get more information out there for people so that they can learn how to listen to their bodies, but also so that they can be educated enough to be able to take care of themselves so that they don't have the experiences that I have had. Like I said, breaking my leg, burning myself, all the other experiences I've had as far as seizures. I don't want anyone else to have those experiences. I want people to be safe and healthy.
Yes, I completely agree. There's just some little things that could cause a lot that, you know, some doctors might not really, really put, maybe they didn't really put more attention to it, or they didn't really take it as something that's serious. But these are the truth and the world that we personally find ourselves today. And that's why listening to oneself really, really works, because the truth is our body cannot lie to us. If something is not going right, there will be a feeling that we will have that will show that something is wrong somewhere. And if something great is
Exactly.
also coming, we will also have that feeling that something good is coming. And definitely it will come. The body does not lie to us. And lastly, Mrs. Deborah, there's a question I normally ask ma. From the ancestors, from the forefathers, there are a lot of things that do exist during our ancestral time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, what do you think that thing would be, ma?
Oh wow. I feel like we could have a whole podcast episode just on that one. I feel like a little newbie, a little tiny, like I wish I could bring my grandfather back and call ask him questions. He saved my life as far as diabetes. He was the one that saw me drinking so much water. And he said to my mom, he says, I'm sure that she has type 1 diabetes. And my mother's like, oh no, no, you're just being annoying. And he's like, no, 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 you need to test her. And so my mother did it just to get her father-in-law to stop bugging her. And it turns out, yes, I had type 1. I was 6. So my grandfather, may he rest in peace, he saved my life. But as far as ancestors, I don't know that my ancestors were necessarily into it, but I do believe that the Native Americans, like in the US, were onto something as far as I wish that I could talk
Mhm.
to people and what they were doing, hundreds of years ago. um, because I think we've lost something in modern medicine. I mean, that we've gained something. There's a lot of modern technology and stuff in what I'm using for instance, Medtronic. Thank you, Medtronic. But I'm getting into now, I'm understanding, like for instance, I use this thing called bladder tea. I get it on Amazon, but it's using licorice root. It's using, I mean, all these natural things that you could go out and pick if I knew what I was doing. I don't know what I'm doing, so I have to buy it on Amazon because somebody's put it together. But it's all natural stuff that you would normally go out in the woods if you knew what you were putting together. There's some other stuff that I use that grows in Southeast Asia. I'm such a newbie on this stuff, but I'm really getting into, I don't know if you call that alternative, but the non-Western medicine stuff. So I have a lot of respect for whatever it was that people knew, all of those who came before us, and we're living in a different age. I'm not sure if we've improved on that a whole lot. Not knocking it, because there are some improvements, like I said, technologically speaking, but I think there's a lot that we lost, and I'm trying to uncover what that was personally and learn about what people knew hundreds of years ago.
Yeah, completely agree. Thank you so much, Mrs. Deborah. I sincerely want to thank you for your interest and this discussion that goes with the body, mind, listening to one body. And I also want to say, I think your grandpa, right? Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes, may his perfect soul rest in peace. And that is the experience, our forefathers, probably have. There are little things they quickly get that, something like this is wrong with you. But, probably the education now probably might be fading away, but we hope in the coming future, more better and more signs like that, we people could know that we could know, something is wrong, like this is wrong with me. How can I get it solved? I want to sincerely thank you, Mrs. Deborah, for speaking on this topic
Thank you.
and giving this discussion. Thank you so much, Mrs. Deborah.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, ma. Bye bye.
Bye bye.